Good. Excellent. All right. Let's call this meeting to order. It looks like we do have a quorum, so we can get started. Did you all have a chance to review the agenda?
Yes.
I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Move that we approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Visitor communication, you guys for this meeting or the next meeting? The next meeting, okay, excellent. Don't think there's any visitor communication. Oh,
I'm just aware that someone called me and said that they might want to do visitor communication.
Okay.
On Zoom.
yeah,
Okay, yes.
Nancy. The other Nancy.
No.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Under attendees.
Oh, okay. You got a rookie here. Allowed to talk?
Yeah, you can do it.
Hi, Nancy.
Oh. I think that was Emily.
Ask that mute.
That's us.
Down
We
to-
got app.
Yeah, down to Nancy. Try that.
It looks like we're muted also. There we go. We're still muted.
How about there?
Hey, you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm Nan. I don't see you anymore.
You got a rookie here.
Okay, it's all right. I'm the rookie on the other side.
You should know this better.
Oh,
It's-
now I see you guys
Which one am I?
You're at the, look at the very top, look at the very top and just highlight.
at the very top. It says sign in.
One more over.
Oh, on your side.
Click that, click that.
It's all good.
Try 23 dots.
Yes.
That one's.
Can you see us now?
Yeah, I can see you now, but now I can't. Now, kind of. I feel like now I see you. Now I don't.
Right.
All right, Nancy, we can't hear you very well, but please, go ahead.
Okay, so I learned today that my questions need to come to you. And so I'm calling about dogs in the park. Yeah. Dogs in the park, and since the city has increased the multifamily density, there's less space because of the cost I'm hearing, for lots, and to have adequate space for dogs in the residential areas. Hence all the dogs in town walking around, and not everybody's a responsible dog owner to pick up their poo. But anyway, there's a number of things I'm concerned about, but for the first one, I'll just start off with is I am a 4-H dog leader. I presently have been for the last 2 years at Sisters Parks and Rec and hoping to continue that with them. But I'd like to be able to take the kids out into the park where we have, space, a little bit more space and better footing. And I'm understanding that the Sisters Code does not allow for that, for groups out into the park. So what can we do to change that?
Can I ask what parks you're talking about and what groups you're talking about?
4-H. I'm the 4-H dog leader.
Got
And so I was told by somebody in the Parks Department earlier this year that there was no code to allow us to be able to do that. And I thought the parks were for everybody, but apparently if you're an organized group, it doesn't allow that.
Scott, do you know anything about codes for dog activities in parks?
I think what she's referring to is something from our Public Works Department who manages the parks, as far as I know. If anybody else has any more knowledge, please let me know. But I'm not exactly aware of what the situation is. I did talk to Nancy earlier and kind of learned a little bit more about her concerns. Just haven't had time to investigate it with Jackson in our Public Works Department, who I think might have some more knowledge about how we handle those kinds of situations.
Larger groups of dogs. in
Yeah, like
parks.
maybe commercial, I don't know if that's a commercial operation or whatever, those kinds of things in parks. So I guess our advice is to, direct us to do some more research on it, we bring it back to a future meeting.
Yeah, Nancy, I know you had another concern as well, but, did you hear that from Scott?
Yeah, Scott and I talked earlier today. You know, the issue, you know, here, you know, for me is that, one, I'm hearing and recognizing the community, there's a problem with dogs with the, school district, Parks District, a number of entities around, the community. And, you know, we need a place for education, and then we need to be able to use the parks. And so, you know, and then I heard there might be a dog park planning on board. But, you know, I just want to see where I can, what I can utilize for my 4-H kids. I've got 7 4-H kids right now. And the grass is certainly better on their paws than working on the, pavement. And so, you know, I want to know where we can participate at, where we could, what can we use the park?
Yeah, do you have a park in mind that you would like to do that in, or are you just asking for all the city parks and what the?
Yeah, all the city parks, probably First Street, but, you know, that's a little bit convenient there, but anywhere, you know, is fine. And we're responsible to clean up after ourselves. That's never been an issue for our group. But, you know, I'd like to be able to take the kids to a place that, you know, that we could work where it's going to be okay. And OSU provides our liability insurance, and I'm happy to give the city a rider if that's what you need.
Okay, well, it sounds like the city will do a little more investigation on what the exact rules are, and maybe we can instruct them to do that and be in contact with you about possible next steps.
And possibly put it on an agenda in the future for the board to consider.
And we're gonna pilot a dog park actually at the East Portal in the next year, maybe.
I'd say so.
So that is something that we're working on as well, just to have that available for most dog owners.
That would be great. And then I was kind of curious if you wouldn't mind telling me what all does your committee do? I wasn't familiar with it. Is there a brief overview somewhere?
I think we're more or less the first stop for some of the issues that come about the parks to discuss and recommend things to council that need to go to council to make opinions or decisions about what happens in the parks, how they're funded, how they're planned, things like that. Are you
Okay.
okay? Well said.
Yeah, you know, because like one of my other concerns was with dogs overall in general, future looking forward, what can we do to improve the relationship between dog owners, you know, and the city and the rest of the people here for education? You know, how can we make dogs a more comfortable discussion overall for safety for the individuals, and less dogs running around, maybe people understanding what the county's and the city's requirements are for that, you know, because it's just going to be, as we grow, it's just going to be a bigger issue. And I see so many dogs that are out on the street. People don't know to microchip. I think we need to have more education here. And they don't know that if the county picks your dog up when you're on vacation, if nobody and there's no ID on it, in 3 days, they can adopt it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And
that's great ideas,
yeah.
education.
I mean,
would be
I just
great.
feel like with the amount of tourism that comes into this community, I think that we need to be more prepared. And also all of these water bowls that are everywhere, that everyone with good intention puts out, you know, they need to encourage people to have some other kind of device, because the dogs spread disease between each other with those water bowls and stuff. So anyway, wasn't sure how to address all those things.
Well, we can address some of the parks level ones. Some of the other ones are more citywide, so they might be better suited for other venues, but Yeah, thanks for bringing this to our attention. I think it would make a good agenda item for a future meeting once we have a little more investigation from the city on it, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other visitor communication?
I'm back from New Zealand an hour ago.
Gary, welcome back.
Wow.
Thanks for making it.
Made it.
Good job. You're still with us?
Good on you.
All right, we have the approval of the minutes. There were a lot of minutes. Did people have a chance to look over them? Scott talked a lot, it looked like. Can I have an approval of the minutes, a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from our last meeting.
A second?
Second.
Okay, I'll probably say aye.
I,
So moved. All right, the presentation. East Portal Transit Hub naming process. The EPTHNP.
You can choose any name you want as long as it's Gary Ross. Dog Park.
Okay,
So, hello, I'm Rebecca Green and I'm spearheading this project to rename East Portal. And to those ends, this process, well, as you see in your packet, we've recently, the city council recently made a policy for naming city assets just in general. And so there's a number of different guidelines in there for how we rename any kind of city asset. And it's fairly broad because there's different kinds of assets that we might be naming, parks being one of them, but a lot of other types of things. And then at a more recent meeting of the city council approved the process for renaming East Portal in particular. So it took some of the guidelines from the general policy and said, okay, let's do it this way for this park. And so that has been laid out and that was attachment 2. And so now, as you see in that, this is the first stop. And there are a number of stops along the way. And it is a fairly quick timeline that we're trying to accomplish here because the East Portal is in construction now. A little bit of a pause for winter, but they'll be going full speed as soon as they can in spring and with a June 30th deadline. By that time, they want to have signage that has the name on it. So that's why we're pushing it back a little bit and hoping to get it done by April so that they can have whatever kinds of signage done by then, right? And because you meet every other month, that has constrained our timeline as well. So the main request right now is to form a subcommittee so that subcommittee can take a deeper dive into what those names might be, come up with a suggested list to bring back to this full board that can discuss it, in a more refined way, and then make a recommendation to council.
Do you also, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you also ask the public at all? Because I remember that being
yeah.
part of it.
Let me get my glasses on.
Awesome. No,
Sorry.
I just wondered how that worked.
So yes, so we are hoping to have the subcommittee come up with a short list of names that the city parks board will consider. And then you decide how many names you want to put forth to the public. And that we'll have a public process in February, so February 10th to 21st. We'll have a number of ways that the public can provide feedback on the different names that are suggested. And then that feedback will come back to this board. And so you'll have that recommendation, your own recommendation, you'll have your different things to weigh that you'll just, and this board will make a recommendation to council for their decision.
Got it. Short list. Us, public, back to us, back to council.
That's it.
All right. There's no. Awesome.
So
Because-
Rebecca, oh, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Is this something that you're hoping to get like subcommittee members from the board today to like volunteer? I think my only concern with that is that it's the end of, terms for a few of us.
Right,
So it's just kind of, it's just that you'll have a limited pool.
yes.
And then if those people are not available, I just wanted to. flag
Might
that.
I suggest a couple of things? First of
Sure.
all, there may be a necessity for more than one meeting. Every other month, there may have to be a
Subcommittee.
month,
Yeah.
month thing. This, second of all, I believe that this group, as personally it's consistent, as well as our new people coming in, have a pretty good idea of what's going on, and I would not have a problem with one of our ex officio members who's moving on to another committee or just abandoning us total, might be appropriate to have on as a
The
part of that.
Is that
subcommittee
okay
as
to
well.
do, to have that, I mean, have the public at large or ex officio members? Or do you just want members?
I think we can make that a tentative, okay, and then I'll
Cause it's a good
pass it by
point,
the
like,
policy.
the collective knowledge of all of us would be
Yes.
helpful, probably.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that was my question, is why can't this be the subcommittee?
And this can be, I mean, if you want to, so I've outlined sort of a timeline here. And if you, I mean, you can have as many subcommittee members as you'd like. So if the board wants to meet those additional times, that's,
Oh, so you're saying it would have to be additional meetings in addition to, okay.
Yeah.
It's not-
it would
That's
It's
definitely
not something
be.
we could just brainstorm right now and come up with something.
Call it a day.
I have a number of materials.
Yeah, Karen.
That I'll be
Back
providing.
to history and, okay.
So to give you some some direction in that and some things to talk about and things like that. I didn't want to bring all the information here, today.
Well, also, we were only meeting every other month because we weren't we didn't have much to discuss.
Right.
But the idea was to have a meeting every month if there were things to discuss, so it sounds like.
And historically, this committee, when there has been things going on, like park design, met monthly. So it went to bi-monthly because, as you said, there wasn't a lot going on. So the precedent is there. It really is up to the people in this room, not me, to decide how often you want to meet and whether or not we can be part of it.
And I would say for that to work, it would just be January, February, March, and April.
So
So,
4 monthly meetings to decide the name
yeah,
of either a subcommittee or the full committee.
well, I mean, we could do it with the full committee,
Yeah.
I think, if you did 4 meetings, I think that would. Work.
Anybody, let's just take a straw poll. Does anybody object to that? Or have a
To
problem?
what,
with that?
to this room being the subcommittee and to having
Correct.
a meeting in January, February, March. and-
Yeah,
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to agree to say that, but no,
It-
seriously.
Spring break might be the only issue.
Yeah, it might be done at the March meeting. But it does give us that April meeting before the city council's
You're
meeting.
giving us a lot of credence here. Yeah.
Well, you don't know the whip side of that.
And you get to be involved as well, like you would
I
be,
mean.
Would you be
liaison.
involved?
I mean.
you would come to all these 4 anyway. No, though, I think it would be great. I think it would be great to have you, right? And our council.
I'll get the dog parking, you can get.
Well, I like
I
that.
think it's fantastic to have.
Is
full
that an
board do
okay
it, yeah.
idea?
Yeah.
And there may be some turnover or whatever.
And that would let some of the new members get involved as well.
Absolutely, great
Yeah.
idea, yeah, okay. We all happy with that?
Okay,
Let's do that.
sounds
So,
good, all right, I'll prepare for the January 15th.
Just give yourself more work, that's a good job.
And Scott won't work.
Yeah.
That's-
Scott, are you okay with that? I didn't check with you, I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I get a phone?
Okay.
No.
We should name a fountain.
So hypothetically, that January 15th meeting would be all dedicated toward that topic? Is that what?
Yes,
it'd be-
yeah, I mean, if you have other business, that's fine, but it's basically a special meeting, right, that's not your usual meeting. Well,
January.
if it's the first meeting, you meet the first Wednesday of the
Right.
month.
Mhm.
So that is the first, so we won't be meeting on the first.
No.
So that could be the 8th. Oh, actually, not for me though, because that's a city council meeting, so that's why I had the 15th. January 15th.
15th, you say the 29th. That's 2 weeks later.
So we don't need the 29th,
29th, okay,
I would say. if
Just the
we're
5th?
doing the full group and-
or the
15.
January 15th and February 5th, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, those are the next 2 meetings. And then after that, there would be a March meeting.
and then
maybe.
March, that would be March 5th.
Yeah, then regular schedule. Okay, got it.
And was that a 4 o'clock meeting?
Yes. Those are all 4 p.m. Do you, well, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so I mean, just to revise what we would be doing at those meetings slightly. That January 15th meeting, it would be really great to drill that down to a list of names that we can provide to the public. So I'll do the best I can to get you materials, to look over and to bring your ideas. And, you know,
And-
let the fight begin.
This group could propose other names that fit the criteria that you listed.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to suggest any actual names. I will give a lot of words that you can think about and give you reasons why I'm.
I know.
Yeah, anything's game. And it's
Picture it.
your,
That was fun.
right, yeah, we can.
We're gonna sound Yeah, exactly. Get it?
But
Wait for
you
it.
know, I mean, just to
right.
say, I went to do the background history and there's nothing very specific about that piece of land. That calls anything specific to mind, except that it is the historical byway between these two historical passes.
Right.
There's a lot of history there. It's not necessarily the spot where everyone stopped, you know, so there's, you know, there's nobody who lived there or anything. And in general, we did create some parameters here, council created some parameters that there isn't a name that we should put to this property. Unless, you know, you have some compelling reason for that, but, there, you know, based on what we know about the property, you know, we don't wanna just pull a name out of the hat and apply it to this piece of land. That's not part of the policy as they created the naming policy.
So things like geographical themes, like that seemed like a good area to go with, right?
Yeah,
Historical preservation, local significance, like those were the guidelines that stood out to me when I was thinking about names, right? And it has that great view, right? One of the best views in the city.
right, yeah, you can see the mountains really nice up in there. And so the other primary criteria was to have it be identifiable. It is going to be a transportation center. And so when somebody hears the name, they know what's happening there. So somehow put that in there as well.
And so you said that the goal is to get a sign somewhere?
Yeah.
So somebody coming in,
Mhm.
maybe both directions, would see a sign,
Mhm.
and then is ODOT playing a role in this? At all as far as approval or?
No, they're not. They have never owned the land and they don't own the land. We are doing, you know, we're doing some transfer of land to them for the easements around the property, which were never, established because it was federal land, it was the Forest Service. So when the city bought it, then we go through the process to have the state have the easements around the property, but that's not the property itself, so they don't have any authority with anything with that. But they are, you know, it is called the East Portal because that site is part of the state scenic byway, Mackenzie Santiam Scenic Byway, and all of their documentation about that byway points to the East Portal and Sisters. East Portal.
For now,
E
it's gonna
capital
change
P.
to the new name.
Well, and
So-
there is no west, you need to know there is no west portal. If you come up the Mackenzie Highway, there's no west portal, it just says scenic highway, only Mackenzie Highway or something, so.
Yeah,
The naming is interesting, I think it probably is the federal government that named it as
Yeah.
opposed to.
But this serves not just only the scenic byway, it serves like everybody and buses going and cars going every way, so we should be, right? Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Multi-use mobility
Yeah.
hub.
I
Whatever.
can tell you the council really wants it renamed. We're pretty adamant that we want that name to go away because it, it's a different use. And so.
It was always confusing, I think, even to newer residents, I think it was confusing. Old residents. So how does it work, for, you're gonna give us a little more background and you just ask for submissions and we just pepper you with emails, is that kind of how it works? Or what would
I'm
you like?
thinking we'll call a meeting for the 15th of January, and I'll put together a packet, for you guys to, start considering those names, and yeah, I think,
Do you want to hold on and bring the names or put them in a shared document or what's?
well,
the-
how would you like it? Because what I could do is bring all the materials that I have, some of the background, more extensive background. More suggested names, just words
Yeah.
and things like that. And we could do that so that by the time we get to the 15th, we could have your ideas already.
I think that's the best way,
Yeah.
because it gives us a chance, it's kind of a fun project for all of us to do in our spare time, those of us that have it. Doug, so, we can,
Yeah, I like it.
if you're open to that way of doing it. I
Yeah,
don't know,
the
my
only,
suggestion.
what comes to mind for me is the public meeting law.
Sure,
So as long as the communication is between you, each individual, you and me,
okay, so
and-
submit your things via the Outlook portal to Rebecca.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll communicate with you,
Yeah.
all of that, so that it's
I love it.
clear and.
But peer-to-peer communication you shouldn't all sit around a feet and discuss names. That's
Right.
considered a public meeting.
I got you.
That's-
I got you.
This is
private
private,
concern.
just copies of.
Yeah.
Yeah, just copy, yeah.
Like a rain cloud.
We won't see anything but sister's copy, so. But
Okay.
you just need to be careful on that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, thank you.
doesn't mean you can't have one-on-ones.
I'm excited to see your listening materials. Yeah, I
Yeah,
liked
thanks so
your
much. This
background
is-
was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very helpful.
Oh, thanks.
Great.
This is
So yeah,
fun.
your word cloud's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps to have something to look at.
Cool.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Would that be helpful for you to get that quite a ways before the meeting, so you can put it on what we're gonna do on the 15th? I
Yeah,
mean, a couple
Thank
days
you.
at least or something.
I'll give you deadlines.
Look at that. I love it.
Yeah, thanks, definitely. Yeah, I don't know, it's with the holidays coming up. It'll be a little tricky, but I'll try to get something out to you quickly, so that it'll give you some time. Give some deadlines.
Nancy and Gary is our emeritus sort of and current members. Have you guys ever gone through this process before in council?
You have.
The reason there's a process in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of a naming opportunity that was fraught with issues.
Got it.
Yeah,
So you've been through the bad side of it.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy to see that council continued to work and
That's great.
put parameters in place. And left it open to name after a park, but after after a person, but the person has sort of been deceased for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then- Yeah, that was.
There's consequences to your request. Scott.
This is what you get when you've got somebody who's 21 hours on an aircraft in the airport.
can't
and
believe
you got
you're
here
here.
an hour ago, so you get what you get.
Have you been through this before, Scott, the naming process?
No, I was gonna share a funny story about a place I used to live in. They did dedicated a bridge and they did a kind of a vote in public and kind of a campaign starting for naming.
Bodie McBookface.
James Brown's Soul Center of the Universe Bridge.
Nice.
And it won. And James Brown came and dedicated.
He's not dead. Can't do it here. Can't do it.
Do it.
I did have that, because I know they've done a lot of public ones, right? And it always ends up in Bodie McBookface or something crazy, so.
Well,
I'm glad you're not
the
doing
British
that.
allowed the public to name their new destroyer or something.
Yeah, that was.
And the Alpha or research ship, they came up with Bodie McBoatface. Well, the British government refused to do it, but they named the submersible that it carries.
Oh,
So,
fine.
yeah, chicken.
Yeah, direct democracy in action.
Okay.
Okay,
All
I'm
good?
good.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff updates, Mr. Scott.
I would just give you an update on, that we did Parks, board interviews. We had Eli on the interview committee as well as Counselor Cobb. We had 4 terms that were basically up this year. One stepping down, so Molly, sad to see you go. And we had 3 other ones, the incumbents have basically had applied to re-up their positions. Can't say anything at this point because it's top secret. Until next week. So you'll hear at that time, with the appointments where we had 7 applications for those positions and,
Oh, good.
along with planning commission, we had 10, so we had really good interest from the community this year, which was awesome. Which, made it challenging for us.
And normally I would sit in on that selection process, so whoever sat in for me, I
Counselor Cobb did.
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
yeah, because I wasn't gonna try to do it over Zoom. The time difference, and
Yeah.
my spouse would kill me.
No.
Well,
And then they couldn't put
Next opportunity.
Gary Ross mobility. Yeah.
There'll be some other opportunities. So, other than that, we do, I guess I'd plug the open house for the Urban Growth Boundary, that we're gonna do next Monday, December 9th at 6 to 8 p.m. at the park at the elementary school.
Is it gonna be anything that we haven't learned in our meeting?
Well, I mean, let's see, what's kind of happened since you saw it, I think it was back in,
October.
Was it October?
Yeah.
Did I show you the different concepts? for the-
August.
August, maybe.
Because October was canceled.
Yeah, it must have been farther back, so probably, what's happened since then is we've actually, thrown out 5 different concepts for where the expansion, you can come in. The expansion, could take place, they're not any necessarily in any order, they're 1 through 5. They don't mean, that one's got more of a preference than another, it's just for discussion purposes. It takes the whole study area and make sure that at least one concept incorporates all parcels, or at least one of the parcels within each concept for discussion purposes. And based on the feedback we got from the community and from our steering committee, that'll hopefully around March or April, we'll have a preferred alternative. So this is a good time to get your input on it. If you can't make it personally, starting the 9th, there'll be an online open house that you can do on your own time and offer comments that way too. So
What about, Paul?
big parks everywhere. There's
Yeah,
right.
Paul in the Northwest, did he get the grant for the Northwest, Park?
For the planning.
For the planning, yes.
Is that all done?
Yes, yeah, yeah. When that starts, I don't know.
Okay,
I think the next step is to go out for an RFP to get a consultant.
okay.
There's enough money that we'd have to hire.
Oh, okay, got it. Cool, that's exciting.
So that'll be a big project for next year for the park. Councilor Ross, anything that I'm missing?
Gone forever.
I don't know a thing.
What was your favorite spot in New Zealand?
Oh, my God.
Which one wasn't
Everywhere.
what wasn't your favorite spot, right?
The hotel by the train station in Christchurch, which we stayed at in order to get to 8 o'clock in the morning, that was my least favorite. Everything else was great.
I mean, you had to leave, right?
Some,
Great people,
so fun.
Any good parks?
all over the place. You know, I'll tell you what, this is a little aside. Every town has a restroom on the main street when you go through, every town. Somebody takes Lasix, appreciates that. But whoever builds these things, you press a button and the door opens up, you press a button, the door closes, and it says, you will now have 10 minutes. And then it starts to play music
Ooh.
Nice.
or chirping birds.
To calm you down.
And when you are finished with whatever you went in there to do, if you open the door and you haven't bothered to flush the loo, it will flush it for you. So it's ready for the next user, immaculately clean every single one. So I did see a double bike rack. I suggested that we need one of those for the transportation center.
Nice.
Cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
One above the other is kind of
Uh,
stack of bike.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, very bike friendly country, everywhere we went. Bike paths along every major highway. We can't get.
Stay in a backpacker?
Pardon?
Did you stay in a backpacker?
No, but we had a lot of people, backpackers who were around us.
That's a political.
Anyway,
All good?
that's it for me. So
Miss Jen Hogan.
I'll talk about two things. I didn't realize it's been so long since we've had a meeting, so you guys probably don't know that we also got the local government grant for the community park. So for the community park over there. So we are in the middle of working with our landscape architect to get to a schematic drawing. So we already had an approved concept design from the board, and now we're in the next phase where we're taking the information from the, what do you call that, all the surveying and everything, kind of refining it so that we can submit some stuff to the city and then submit stuff to county to then get that stuff going and then hopefully be able to put the project out to bid in like, I think it's March or April. So, so that's exciting. We had a stakeholder meeting 2 weeks ago, and then the board's gonna see kind of refined design in our December meeting. So we're excited about that, and I feel like I'm still recovering from the Friday tree lighting, so I just want to give the city a shout out. You guys really make this, you help make it possible, you know, with Jackson and his team and like making sure the tree was lit. I'll just tell you, I showed up to the park and there were chunks of lights on the ground and I was super stressed out because like, if light strings are missing, like I know how that works in my tree. And so I forget the fellow's name, but he's a older gentleman who's always working on the weekends at our events and he tested the lights again for us just to make sure they were cool beans. And we are gonna try to figure out ways to create more of a barrier during the event itself from so that kids aren't going in that whatever you call it, the where the bark is, right? Because I feel like I kind of was the fun police for a while, telling kids to stop climbing the trees or to stay behind the white lines to get hit by a car. But I know the city had talked about maybe limiting that tree up a little bit. I don't know where that is. But other than that, it was a fabulous event. Thank you so much for your guys' partnership, and we look forward to continuing to grow it. And you know, hopefully, I mean, the weather was perfect. It was so warm until the sun went down. And now I'm very excited to say that we do not have an event for like 4 more months.
Does that mean you're concentrating on moving?
Yeah, so we will be, the remodel is in process right now and should be wrapped up in January, and then we're planning. I'm trying to stop over committing my life and the district, and so we're planning for like assuming it'll take us 4 weeks to get fully over there and set up ready to go where people can come in, and we want to. Once construction is actually substantially complete, then we want to figure out that date is and then start planning an open house to correspond with when we're over there and everything. So, yeah, so Molly, did I miss anything? Yeah. So whenever we have a substantial completion date.
Got it. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet. I would assume late February, early March.
Wow.
Well, don't put it on. But we'll see. That's why there's an ish. Right, ish. Yeah, everything's going great.
And
I do want
to comment though off what Jennifer was saying, because as a city parks advisory board member, I've been this my 6th year, and I think almost every year I've commented after the tree lighting in the parks board meeting. Gary, you were on with me when I would make these comments.
Right, yes.
That echoing off what Jennifer said, that every time I see kids trying to climb that tree, even in the summertime, I'm just like, whoa. And I can just see them trying to climb, they fall out, their foot gets stuck, they fall, something. They get stuck on the string of lights, we don't have lights, like, yeah, broken ones, that's a safety hazard. And I suggested numerous occasions to put a sign up or something around the tree, something to prevent children, because like Jim's saying, I hate being that fun police, but I'm cringing watching it. And my friend who I was talking to the same thing, she would have had to be the fun police. I'm like, at least it's not me this time.
Yeah.
But that's something that you could pass along to whomever it would be greatly appreciated. I feel it's fallen on deaf ears if that thing's happening.
Yeah, it really is a year-round issue. I see it when we're there for the Glory Days car show too. It's just, I mean, it's, if you're a kid, it looks like a great jungle gym, but it's just, it's perfect, it is. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I think about the parent who's trying to take their kid and who's lifting him up.
Oh, right,
You're like,
yeah, right.
Parks, Public Works know about that, or? is
So I
that-
don't know.
Well, look at that. Your last,
Done.
your last act, how about that? Love it.
Fun police strikes.
We will put a sign on it with a link on saying, run by
Molly Bauman. Molly Bauman, the tree skirt.
541.
Are you naming your? naming your park as well?
So I'm really glad that this was, that your guys' naming policy was in the packet because we need this new one, or borrow, so, because yes, we need to figure out a name for the park, because the board is, not gonna be okay with it just calling it the community park.
The old elementary.
Could change that too.
And we need to name the facility and the park too, and so.
I think it should be called the park formerly known as school.
We call it the
East
East
Cornwall. Campground Soul Park.
And you know what? And the
Two
best part
parks
is,
with one
the
stone right
Forest
there.
Service probably still has a sign that was
Yeah.
taken down.
You know, like a
So you can save money on the sign.
Forest, is that your,
It's our.
more or less?
We have.
No, that's it.
Thank you, Jen.
It's my motto.
Thank you to everyone here. I know we only met 5 times this year. We did get stuff done. I wanted to go over a little about what we did. And then we can thank our member who's departing and give her something, yeah? Yes, one of these mugs. He's looking around.
Here, thank you.
No, there was a volunteer appreciation. Some of you made it, some of you didn't. It was really nice. We all got, I think Asa was there and Gary, you missed it, but it was a really nice time and they thanked all the various committees and we got to go up and talk about what we did and it was over at the fire hall and they fed us and it was a really nice time and you know, we did a lot of stuff too. So yeah, we increased the parks level of service. That's sort of the biggest thing that we did. I think that was the most important thing, recommending that to council and making sure that we thought it was a good idea out of the master plan. So thank you for all of your help on that and especially all of you who were around when the master plan was going on. We increased the System Parks Development Charge, SDCs, so that we can account for all the projects that we planned for in the master plan. So that was also, you know, went to council, they approved it. So you guys had a hand in that. Obviously the community garden was the biggest time that we had this year, but that, you know, thanks to Asa and others, that was successfully resolved. And I think our job was going through the process. For me, it was slowing things down a little bit is sometimes a good thing. And that was a good lesson for me, so that everyone could kind of figure out, you know, what was next and yeah, teaching some of the public how to better present themselves so that they can, you know, if this happens again in the future, we can help them with the process and they know how to get community engagement before they come to us and things like that. So we are kicking the can down the road a little bit on that because that is in the master plan. They don't have a spot. We're not obligated to give them a spot, but we should probably be aware of that and have that in our minds moving forward. They'd be great if they could find their own spot, right? But, you know, if some land becomes available, say in a giant UGB expansion or something, perhaps that would be something that could be, you know, thought about.
So Eli.
Yeah.
I did read this in the minutes, so that was really exciting because I was not sure what had happened with the
Yeah,
community garden
exactly.
request. I was looking for something on the
Yeah.
city site, you know, Googling community garden. But anyway, that's awesome. And so my question is, do we know how long the airport is gonna let them stay there?
It said a couple of years, or was there an
Couple of
actual?
years?
They're not looking to kick them out.
Oh, interesting.
So I think at this point, and now my wife has joined the community garden board,
Oh,
So.
Infiltrator.
So I think at this point, my understanding is there's some options already, some private options already presented.
Okay.
So I think that they're, now that they have some time, I think they'll work through what their best option is.
I just met with them today, so they're, I think the deal is as long as they're continuing the search. For a permanent spot, and they can stay there.
Yeah.
And so they're
Wow.
they're contemplating potentially off of Trinity, one of the Symbols of God owned properties where the food bank is.
Oh,
There was an approval for a couple greenhouses that Wellhouse Church was gonna drop there, but ended up not doing, so they're thinking about maybe taking that over to some degree, maybe modify it. And then they're still interested in talking with the school district for that portion that Jennifer's not taking with the park. There's a like a, what do you say, like the eastern third or quarter or whatever.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like this weird pizza shape, but the thing with that is. Correct.
Okay.
The bus barn, and, I think the interesting part of that is that, you know, school district could come in a year and say, okay, we're developing this, and so I think that's also some hesitation they have there, because it's, you know, there's an investment that goes into.
Sure.
And I would say from a council perspective, the work that Asa did and others to kind of slow the process down and get them to rethink and talk to the folks at the airport and get that there. I prefer, you know, my feeling as a counselor is I prefer not to have to address the issue that's going to be on city property until we do the UGB expansion. And we can plan for it in a way that makes sense rather than taking dedicated parkland and attempting to modify it to something that may or may not work. Plus, we may want to look at more than one, or we may want to look at a larger facility, but I think that it's kind of like what you have, you know, we have to plan around our current needs and what we see our population doing. And dedicating a chunk of land to a specific piece of something that serves a small section of the community, even though it's important, is hard for me. Versus planning it and being planful of it as we move forward with UGB expansion.
I agree. And thank you, Asa. I know you did that on your own. You just happened to be a member and happened to be there and made the connection, and that was great. And I think our job as a committee was slowing it down enough to where nobody had to make a decision. They had to do their due diligence, you know. We were asked for our opinions. We gave it to council. They, you know, it was a good lesson in civic democracy and how that works in both ways. So I thank you again for your work on that. That was good.
Good lesson in communication.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Don't expect
It's all about
don't expect naming rights, though.
Yeah. You talk to me.
No naming rights, sorry.
Let's see, we also did the Creekside Park interpretive sign feedback with Chris Knight and the Deschutes Watershed Council. The signs are up, they look beautiful. Let's see, the Dutner, how do you say his name, Andrew?
Oh, Andrew, Ditterer?
Detmer? Yeah. The cool bench, I don't know if you've been over there yet, it's amazing, carved wooden bench in Creekside on the other side of the south side of the creek, beautiful, that got dedicated, Gary was there. So, that was something that we agreed on as a committee and made happen. And then the temporary dog park continues on, which is great, because people are obviously into dogs, and that is another thing from the master plan that we know is on people's minds and that they want, along with pickleball courts. Yeah, and then we had the community park and community center stuff from you, both minutes in, and UGB. So all of that we did in the year. So thank you guys all for your participation and showing up. That's 90% of the game, I think, in this, and being active and engaged. And can we give you a big hand? Thank you, Mama. You're on like every board on demand, so are you on other boards as well?
Well,
It's a meeting at 5:30 tonight.
Is that sore or is it sore? And you're also on SBR, yeah, cool.
and I want to thank you also, Molly. I mean, we kind of started this process together way back when. And I think at some point I begged you to stay on. I really think I recall that discussion. And then when my being involved with SOAR was a little too much with the other things going on in the city, and I felt like with some of the things that were happening, I needed to distance myself a little bit from that, especially with property acquisition. Stepping in and helping to fill that position. wonderful, citizen volunteers are what make this town run, whether you're on the SPRD board or our board or one of the other board.
Get up. We're gonna give you.
You're a very good example of, all of you are, but I want to thank you for the time that you put in.